Hello and welcome to the Capital Net TV. I'm Apurva and today we are going to be discussing India's Cybersecurity Opportunities 2020, a report by SucSEED Indovation Ventures. With the advent of innovation, the world is getting closer and more connected. With digital transformation coming to the forefront, cybersecurity has naturally become the center of this transformation. The need for cybersecurity is transgressing companies and IT walls and into day-to-day lives. With the India Cybersecurity Opportunities report, we are going to look at the following factors. What makes the sector tick? What are the key growth drivers in this sector? What does the future hold for this sector? What should one invest in or exit out when it comes to this sector? And finally, the impact of COVID-19 on the sector. So to kick things off, let's start with what is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity includes technological offerings that help in protecting computer systems, networks, devices, and programs from any type of cyber attack. The need for cybersecurity can be divided into the following four factors. First and foremost, the digital world is growing by the day and hence our dependence on the digital information. This directly translates to the amplified need to protect this data. Secondly, there is a rising number of cyber threats ranging from malware to ransomware. The third factor that contributes to this need for cybersecurity is the fact that the data privacy laws are changing across territories. And finally, we cannot ignore the fact that the lack of focus of cybersecurity can hamper a business in multiple facets, whether it is economic cost, reputational cost, or regulatory costs. Now let's look at the global market when it comes to cybersecurity. The global cybersecurity market is estimated to grow from USD $152.71 billion in 2018 to USD $248.6 billion by 2023. The average deal size in 2019 was $17.3 million, which is a slight uptick from 2018. To put things into perspective when it comes to why we need cybersecurity, let's look at the numbers that goes around when it comes to hacking. Hackers attack every 39 seconds on an average of 2,244 times a day. The average cost of data breach is around $3.92 million as of 2019. Having taken a look at these numbers, now let's see how continents fare when it comes to global deal share percentages in cybersecurity. We have US leading the pack with 58%, then followed by China with 9%, then we have UK with 7%, Israel with 6%, Canada with 2%, and rest of the world 18%. Now let's take a look closer to home with the Indian overview of cybersecurity sector. India is at number 23 of UN Global Cybersecurity Index in 2017. The Indian cybersecurity market was estimated valued at $1.97 billion in 2019 and is projected to grow to $3.05 billion by 2022. It is also touted as the second highest cyber attacks globally between 2016 and 2018 at a time when digitization of Indian economy is to result in $435 billion worth opportunity by 2025. Of course, with the integration of 5G and availability of data so easily, the cyber threats are touted to increase in the next coming years. Again, to put things into perspective, why there is a need for cybersecurity market in the country and why there is opportunity for cybersecurity market in the country, let's look at the numbers. India is the second most affected country due to cyber attacks. There's a 7.9% rise in the average cost for data breach since 2017. There's a 500% cyber risk acceleration since the first lockdown was imposed in India in March of 2020. And finally, India's yearly cyber premium range is between $11 to $14 million. These numbers paint a clear picture for the need of cybersecurity in the country at this hour. So now let's look at the key segments in this sector. First, we have network and endpoint security. Network and endpoint security is a centralized approach for protection of all endpoints, desktop servers, laptops, smartphones connected to the corporate IT network from cyber threats. The global NES market size is expected to grow from $12.8 billion in 2019 to $18.4 billion in 2024. The growth drivers in this sector is the increasing number of endpoints and bring your own devices among enterprises, and the rising endpoint attacks and breaches resulting in higher cost security. Some of the prominent startups in this sector are iValue Solutions and K7 Computing. Second, we have data and cloud security. Cloud being a shared and an internet-based resource, access control, identity management, privacy, and data protection all fall under the purview of this type of security. The global cloud security market is touted to increase from $6.76 billion in 2019 to $37.69 billion in 2027. Some of the key growth drivers in this segment are growing adoption of hosted environments by small and medium enterprises and rising concerns regarding the security of information and data, and developing trends and technologies such as bring your own application, Internet of Things, and bring your own devices are also creating security challenges. Some of the prominent startups in this segment are as follows: Data Resolve, Druva, and InstaSpace. Moving on, we have threat and detection intelligence. Threat detection and intelligence is a cybersecurity-related area of expertise which is used to understand sophisticated cyber threats and their detection, analysis, and predictive remediation. The global threat intelligence market is expected to grow from $5.3 billion in 2018 to $12.9 billion by 2023. The growth drivers in this sector are the rise in the number of targeted attacks and ubiquitous advanced persistent threats and stringent directives for data. Some of the prominent sectors in this segment are security tech, critical and active networks. Moving on, we have encryption and cryptography. Encryption software and services enable users to verify that they are communicating with the right people to protect their data while sending the data from one remote location to another. The global encryption software market is expected to grow from $9.8 billion in 2020 to $20.1 billion by 2025. Some of the key growth drivers in this sector are stringent regulatory standards and data privacy compliances, raising concerns about loss of critical data, and the exponential increase in the adoption of cloud and virtualization technologies. QNU Labs is a prominent startup in this segment. Moving on, we have IoT security. IoT security is a technological area concerned with mitigating cyber threats for connected devices and networks in Internet of Things. The global IoT market was valued at $8.47 billion in 2018. This number is projected to reach $73.9 billion by 2026. Some of the growth drivers in this sector are as follows: rising security concerns for critical infrastructure, increasing ransomware attacks on IoT devices, increasing data risk in IoT networks, and growing IoT security regulations. Mobilium and Emudra are two of the prominent startups in this particular segment. Moving on, we have mobile security. Mobile security is the protection of smartphones, tablets, laptops, and other portable computing devices and the networks they connected to from threats and vulnerabilities across the wireless computing. The global mobile security market was valued at $19.83 billion in 2019. This number is projected to increase to $122.89 billion by 2027. Some of the key growth drivers for this segment are as follows: increase in online mobile payments and rise in the need for security due to increased adoption of BYOT in workplaces, surge in the need to provide protection to video streaming content, growth in the usage of machine learning and artificial intelligence in mobile security application. Some of the prominent startups in this sector are DeviceMax and Authbase. Moving on, we have application security. Application security is a security measure at the application level that aims to prevent data or code within an app from being stolen or hijacked. The application security market is expected to rise from $2.8 billion in 2017 to $9 billion by 2022. The growth drivers for this sector are as follows: the need to protect IT infrastructure from sophisticated application layer attacks, increased deployment of third-party applications that are often unsecure, necessity to adhere to government regulation. Some of the prominent startups in this sector are SecureNX and AppSecure. Moving on, we have cyber risk management. Cyber risk management involves identifying your risks and applying administrative actions and comprehensive solutions to make sure your organization is adequately protected. The global market size for this segment is expected to grow from $12.5 billion in 2020 to $15.5 billion in 2025. Some of the growth drivers for this segment are as follows: growing cyber awareness across developing economies, rising mandates for adhering to regulatory compliances, the growth of application program interface, that is API segment. Some of the prominent startups in this particular segment are Synchronize, Decidius, and Security Boots. Moving on to privacy. Privacy is the right to or ability to control the sharing or disclosure of certain information about yourself and your behavior. The market is accounted to grow from $521.3 million in 2018 to $1,585.9 million by 2027. Some of the key growth drivers for this particular segment are as follows. Since the formal introduction of GDPR, the privacy management market has already seen other regions move into in-state with their own legislation, including California, South America, and Asia Pacific. With snowballing volume and prominence of data that the modern information system maintains, privacy and security breach pose an augmenting threat not only to users but also system operators and designers. Some of the prominent startups in this particular sector are AUJazz and Authmetric. And the final segment we have for cybersecurity is identity management. Identity and access management in enterprise IT is about defining and managing the roles and access privileges of individual network users and the circumstances in which users are granted or denied those privileges. The global IAM market is projected to reach $1.015 billion by 2026. IAM can be categorized by two factors. One is know your customer and second is authentication. The growth of this segment is driven by increased demand in security governance, enforcement concerns, distributed systems and workforce, as well as lower quality of security services within organization. Some of the prominent startups in this sector are Digio, Intane, and Itify.in. There are 6 key technologies that are integrated into the cybersecurity framework, and they are as follows. Cloud computing. From authenticating access to filtering traffic, cloud security can be configured to exact needs of the business and protect the cloud-based systems, data, and infrastructure. Blockchain. Blockchain provides a way of recording transactions or digital interaction in a way that is secure, transparent, and highly resistant to outages, auditable, and efficient. Behavioral analytics. The analytics tool that would detect the anomaly and alert IT managers who could proactively stop the unusual behavior of cyber attack. Virtual dispersive networks. VDN disperses the data over multiple paths and eliminates the man-in-the-middle threat. Then we have smart grid technology. The installation of field devices and smart meters rendered critical infrastructure vulnerable to attacks. And finally, we have AI and ML. Combining the strength of artificial intelligence with cybersecurity helps in defending vulnerable networks. Having understood the key segments within cybersecurity and also the technologies that make it, let's take a look at the top funded companies that are there in this particular sector. First up, we have Tanium with a total funding of $1 billion. Tanium gives enterprises and government organizations the ability to secure, control, and manage millions of endpoints across enterprise within seconds. Moving on, we have Netskope with a total funding of $740 million. The Netskope Security Cloud provides unrivaled visibility and real-time data and threat protection when accessing cloud services, websites, and private apps. Following Netskope, we have Sync with $452 million in total funding. Sync is a software service that aims to help developers find and fix vulnerabilities in their open source code before it goes into production. Then we have SentinelOne with $429 million worth of funding. SentinelOne delivers autonomous endpoint protection through a single agent that prevents, detects, responds, and hunts attacks across all major vectors. And finally, we have OneTrust with a total funding of $410 million. OneTrust, a software platform for privacy professionals, is designed to operationalize data privacy compliance and privacy by design. Coming closer to home, in India, we have the following cybersecurity startups that are doing pretty well when it comes to funding. First up, we have Dhruva with $328 million worth of funding. Following Dhruva, we have Ativo Networks with $60.1 million of funding. And finally, we have InfiSecure with $60 million worth of funding. When it comes to lending money to these startups, we have the following venture capital firms that are lending money to these startups. We have Charate Ventures leading the pack with DeepFence, InfiSecure, and Oojas Cybersecurity in their portfolio. Then we have Sequoia with Dhruva and QuickHeal in their portfolio. We have Parampara Capital with Data Resolve and CloudSec in their portfolio. We had Nexus, who has also invested in Dhruva. And we have Unicorn India Ventures, who have invested in Securitech. Much like every other sector in the ecosystem, cybersecurity has also been impacted by COVID-19. First and foremost, there's a substantial number of rise in phishing and ransomware-related attacks when it comes to COVID-19. There has been a 4,300% increase in coronavirus-themed spam. There has been 4,000 cyber attacks a day since COVID-19 and close to 18 million daily malware and phishing emails related to coronavirus which are blocked by Google. Secondly, due to remote working conditions and work from home capabilities, there's an increase in security risk. 137K is the average cost of data breach increased due to remote working, and almost 52% legal and compliance leaders are concerned about the third-party cyber risk due to remote work since COVID-19. The only way around this COVID impact is a dual cybersecurity mindset and also a change in perspective when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, having understood the segments, technologies, startups, and funds that are aiding cybersecurity, what is the way forward from here? When it comes to the future, let's get to the way forward through each segment. First up, we have threat intelligence. The threat intelligence landscape is filled with increasingly sophisticated attacks and intrusions that take the form of advanced persistent threats, sophisticated malware, and zero-day threats, Trojan, and other rogue mobile application threats. Machine learning can automate data collection and integrate with existing solutions by providing context on indicators, compromise IOC, and also tactics, techniques, and procedures of threat actors. Moving forward, we have zero trust authentication. Zero trust security solutions can be deployed on premises as well as offered as clouds offering as per business requirements. With the increase in remote working, there is an increased need for zero trust authentication. Thirdly, we have IoT security. New threats will emerge through 2021 as hackers find new ways to attack IoT devices and protocols, so long-lived things may need updatable hardware and software to adapt to these lifespans. And finally, the most important sector, mobile security. The increasing number of smartphone penetration coupled with sophisticated web-based threats that can infect smartphones make mobile security a huge necessity. With this, we have wrapped up the overview of Indian Cybersecurity Opportunities 2020 report by SucSEED Indovation Ventures. Thank you.